Michael to you is your partner. The story of you and Michael put together in a, how would you bind it up for people in a way that they could understand the movement of your relationship or relatedness with Michael?
Michael's so many things to me, and he's become more and more over time, more things, you know. But in essence, he's another part of me. That's what we've come to learn. We're just a reflection of each other. But it's not what we always understood. In the beginning, we met. We were very young when we met, and we were teenage sweethearts. And we've basically grown up together, physically and spiritually and emotionally. You know, we've been through this whole journey together. We're very much different people now in a lot of ways, because we've found ourselves a lot more, but we've been able to do that together. As I was saying to Julie before, we both know that we're still the same people. We're still the little kids we were, but we've just realised we're so much more than that too. Michael's an amazing man. He started out as my sweetheart and my protector. When I was a scared teenager, he wanted to look after me all the time. That was the role he took on, I was not very confident as I went through a lot of issues. And he looked after me. Could
you just talk into, if you would be prepared to share one of those issues? And what springs to mind is Laura Powell, one of the amazing 88 characters that we're developing together. Laura Powell. When we talked over Skype, I talked deeply into Laura Powell and what she represented to me. And what I noticed at that time was your hair. And I said straight away, look at that amazing hair, it's radiating. Would you talk about Laura Powell and what she represents?
I immediately said to you, she is me.
Did.
Because you shared with me that Laura Powell was a character who was going to represent self-harming, and it was something that I know a lot of people have, and I did self-harm a lot when I was younger because I had this neediness inside of me. I didn't know how to get noticed. I didn't know how to get my needs met. I didn't know how to be looked after, and I would cut myself and I would hurt myself so that somebody had to look after me. That was something I went through for a period because I had a lot of issues around. I didn't understand why my dad had needed to drink, why alcohol was more important to him than his children, than his marriage, than life. I was very confused. I didn't understand at the time why my mum had needed to leave, because it was too much for her.
Why did she leave? Why did your dad drink?
I still don't know.
There's a space there. I think there's a space for healing to come in. You know, I can feel there's a space for understanding, and it would be beautiful when that
a lot has happened,
comes.
and a lot I do to some extent understand, but I always leave a space for I don't know, because I think there's always more to understand, and there's his story, you know, which he can't tell anymore. He's passed now. But there's still a lot of, there still has to be, I think there always has to be a space for I don't know, or how do we grow? How do we grow into more of understanding ourselves if we don't leave that space open?
Your father drank. You didn't understand why, don't fully yet, but there's a space for that to come through. Then your mother left. Why did she leave, do you think?
She had to, for herself, for her own healing. She needed to create a space for that to happen. She had been in this situation for a lot of years, and she could no longer cope with the situation with her husband's drinking. They weren't romantically involved anymore, but she had kept up this pretense for so long, thinking it was what was best for us. It was brave, and she did it for a long time, and she did an amazing job with us and looking after us and giving us everything she could, and working all hours as a nurse, you know, to just pay the bills, because Dad drank a lot of the money away, and he had so many issues, he couldn't cope with the world, and so he hid behind alcohol. And it just came to a point where, for her own sanity and her own health, she had to leave, and she had to give herself that healing space. And thank goodness she came to beautiful Worthing. We lived in Cambridgeshire at the time, because Worthing wouldn't have come into my life otherwise, and with it so many wonderful things since. But she came to Worthing, and I stayed with my sisters and my brother and my dad for a few years after that. And there was a lot of confusion inside me, because I didn't have that perspective, that clarity, that hindsight to understand why she'd needed to leave. I was 11 at the time.
pivotal.
Yeah. So I went through a few confusing years. Not just with that, it's the time when you're awakening as a teenager and, you know, to 12, 13, 14 and all the things that come with that, with romantically noticing other people and all these things awaken inside you, and it's a confusing time for everyone, I think, at that age. Yeah.
Very confusing.
And then there's school going on, you know, and you're always expected of you with coursework and exams and, you know, all of these things happening, and I kind of just rebelled because I was confused and I had all these emotions going on inside me and I didn't understand them. I didn't know what to do with them. In the end, I just said, I'm not doing it. I left school. I said, I want to move down with mum, and I left school, moved down here without sitting my exams because I was just a bit of a mess, to be honest.
You rebelled?
I was doing things I shouldn't do. I was drinking. I was a bit of a crazy teenager. I was 16 now.
Okay.
I was in my final year at school. I think I'd had some boy trouble with a boy I'd liked, and we'd ended up arguing, and I just thought, I'm not happy here. I was too confused. I wanted to be with my mum. And I went to the phone box and called her, because at the time I don't think we had a house phone, and she used to buy us cards to use in the phone box with payment on, so I could call her and said, Mum, please come and get me. And she did. She came and picked me up and brought me back to Worthing.
What's fascinating for me is listening to you, because you say the self-harming was wanting to be seen. Really. The pain, really, I guess, that you felt.
I've been worked on this so much over the years that and my mother and I have a wonderful relationship now, and it was abandonment. I didn't understand. It was confusion as well. A lot of it was, everything happened so quickly, you know. She protected us from a lot of it, so we didn't see a lot of it, and then when she went, we understood, you know, the in and out of rehab and the hidden bottles of vodka and buried in the garden, and the fact that he was talk of the village, you know, everyone knew he was the alcoholic, and there was shame involved in that.
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah.
When she went, it was like suddenly this was exposed to us, and we had to deal with it, and he wasn't really capable of looking after us, so there was a certain level of having to grow up and look after ourselves as well, you know, like practically. Things like our clothes didn't get washed, you know, it was embarrassing. We were ashamed. We'd go to school with smelly, dirty clothes unless we learned to do them ourselves, and my sister would cook meals for me sometimes.
It's so stunning that your mother would stay so long in a situation that was obviously massively traumatic for her, for the sake of you, of the children, basically. And then at some point where she just couldn't maybe take this any longer, she needed to get out and to express herself, then you went out to express yourself at 16 and said, you know, I need to express myself. What I really want is connection. So the self-harming, I wanted somebody to see my pain.
It was it. It's a call for help. It's saying I'm in pain, and nobody realises it because I don't know how to verbalise it. I don't know. And you feel like it's not okay for me to say I have needs that aren't being met. So I didn't understand all this at the time. It's only with hindsight, you know. I self-harmed because it was a release. It felt good to do it, and then to have people who, well, Michael really say, are you okay? I'll cuddle you and make it better, you know. And he became that role to me at the time. He looked after me.